What's up, YouTube world? Great Gaming 88 back at it again, and this time bringing you guys another video. This is something a little bit different because I'm not a very good reviewer. Sometimes I just don't know how to put things together. But Final Fantasy XVI has been out for a while. I absolutely enjoy the game, but here are my honest opinions on this game. Final Fantasy XVI is a very polarizing game. There's two groups, right? So you have the group that absolutely loves the game, then you have the group that absolutely hates this game. I'm in between. I neither hate this game nor love it, but it's different because the real question is it a true Final Fantasy game? Now that question is different for everyone. For me personally, in my opinion, I do not think that this is a true Final Fantasy game, right? I want to start by saying, story-wise, game is absolutely phenomenal, right? Very enjoyable. However, the one thing that I can't stand about this, one of the things that I can't stand about this game is the massive amount of cutscenes. Cutscene after cutscene after cutscene. It just seems sometimes never ending. If you love games with your cutscenes, this is the game for you. But if you got ADD or you just sometimes just don't have the patience for it or can't focus, man, I'm telling you, the cutscenes in this game will drag. So I guess depending on the player, man, you could either choose to skip certain cutscenes, because I mean, if you've been gaming for a while like me, you kind of know what cutscenes to skip, you kind of know what cutscenes to watch. But everything pretty much has a cutscene or like what I would call a mid like scene. And when I say mid scene, like when you're doing like a side quest and you go talk to someone, it kind of goes into a little talking thing. Not necessarily a cutscene, but it just something to kind of drag on, right? So that's one big thing about this game that I just truly am really bothers me. Storyline is great, like I said, and I'm not gonna show off any story here. I chose to start at this point because, I mean, if you look on the screen, like the two greens are side quests and the red one is like main story, but I wouldn't say really any spoilers, right? Nothing big is happening in my campaign right now to spoil anything. So that's number one. Number two is combat. The combat in this game is great, but it's not your typical Final Fantasy, right? So typical Final Fantasy, you have that play style where you're choosing, you know, what attacks you want on what enemies, or you had that old school turn-based style where, you know, you would get into a random battle and then you would, you know, fight it out until the end, and you would just pick and choose wisely what attacks you want to use, right? So here we got into a battle. I'm a level 30, so right here it looks like we're fighting some close to level 30 enemies. Now I'm gonna show you what it's like fighting just using my sword. Sometimes it's a little tedious when you just use your sword, depending on the enemies. If you're fighting a bigger enemy, it seems as if just fighting like this, just using sword, it seems as if you're not doing any damage at all whatsoever. So the one thing about this game with the combat, you want to pair your abilities with your fighting style. To do that, you get icons throughout this game, which the icons are basically new summons, right? So without spoiling anything, I mean, I'll just show you right here. You got the red icon, the green icon, and the purple icon. I don't really know how to say that. I really don't want to go into too much because I don't want to spoil what those icons are. But each icon, you get two abilities. So for instance, if anyone who played the demo, and I'll just use this one as an example, anyone who's played the demo, everyone knows that the red icon is the fire icon, Ifrit, right? I apologize for anybody who hasn't played this game yet. but anyone who plays this game knows that the fire icon is Ifrit. So when you're playing and you're fighting, you use those abilities. Like for instance, see, I just showed like what the purple icon is. I apologize, guys, but for instance, you got heat wave and ignition. So when you get into a battle, you want to pair your icon abilities with your fighting style so that you're doing more damage when you play. Here, we'll do this. All right, so use an icon. You could use the triangle to shoot like your fire move. If you hold triangle down, you can charge it, and it gives you like your more powerful fire attack. Let's try that again. Yeah, there it is, right? So then you just kind of keep pairing your attacks like this, and then, you know, the more you pair, the more damage you do. I don't really want to show off the icons because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but I hope you guys kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. As long as you're pairing things together for your combos, it makes combat a lot easier. If you're going in just hacking and slashing, it ain't gonna work for you. One thing I want to say is with this game, they do make it easier for new players who aren't so good at hack and slash games. If you go into gear, they kind of start you off with 4 rings. So you got Ring of Timely Focus, which when equipped, time slows before an evadable attack, and before an evadable enemy attack strikes Clive. No effect when equipped with Ring of Timely Evasion. Ring of Timely Evasion, when equipped, Clive will automatically evade attacks as long as the attack can be evaded. So, for anybody who's not good at dodging, you equip Ring of Timely Evasion. It will auto dodge any attack, again, as long as it's evadable. There's a lot of boss fights out there that certain things just can't be dodged. But it's very good for players out there who don't know like how to really dodge or play in games like this. Then you have Ring of Timely Strikes. When equipped, complex ability combinations can be executed simply by pressing square. So when I talk about combos, if you equip this, you're gonna get easy mag combos to be able to do without just doing like your regular right? So I think we can fight these guys here. Let's see. Let me attack one. Yep. So look, now all I have to do is press X, square, and it's just gonna start doing combos for me without even doing anything. And that's, again, for beginners. If you really are not good at hack and slash games but want to play this game specifically, you can equip this and make your boss fights or just enemy fights a lot easier. Another thing that this game has that reminds me of Devil May Cry, it has a limit break, which is kind of similar to Devil Trigger. So when you get into a battle and your bars up there are yellow, you can go into a limit break and it'll make you temporarily stronger for the time being. So let's see if I can get into a battle here and show you. So this is what your limit break looks like. So it kind of makes you a little bit stronger here and there, depending on what abilities you have attached to your character. This one. So combat is fun. Combat in this game is pretty great, but if you're looking for a traditional Final Fantasy experience, it's not going to be this game. There it is, right? I personally don't use this because I don't like the thought of this game being that easy. So I attach something else. Like you can put this on. The Favor of the Inferno for ignition increases ignition damage by 12%, which ignition is one of my icon abilities. The next thing in this game that I don't really like is the side quests. I feel the side quests are a bit tedious, and they're just kind of glorified fetch quests. It's always go do this, go find this, or go give this to someone. They're not really, you know, like well thought out. They're kind of boring. However, there is one reason why you should do side quests, and there's only one side quest that's worth it. So excuse me, I wouldn't say do all the side quests. If you want to be a completionist, then by all means, but for me personally, there's only one side quest that's worth it, and that's to get your chocobo. So I got my chocobo here. I did get this from doing one side quest in particular, but it makes going around the world a lot easier, even though there is fast travel and things. When you're out in a field like this and you have to get to a certain spot, using your chocobo is helpful. So keep in mind, there is one particular side quest in this game specifically attached to getting your chocobo, and you're going to definitely want to do that. Another thing about this game is your party members. Again, not traditional Final Fantasy. You don't just get a slew of different party members. You get maybe one or two here and there. I'm about 70% complete with this game so far, and you just really don't get that many people joining your party to help you fight. You get your dog companion, and then you always have at least one other person with you, which is not a lot, but in a game like this with the type of combat, I guess it doesn't really matter. But not to say that it's not possible. If you look at the Tales series games, a lot of the Tales games have multiple party members on screen during battle. And, you know, but Final Fantasy 16 is a different beast. It's a different type of game. I understand what they're doing. It doesn't, you know, downplay from what the actual game is. Summons, right? You have icon battles, so your main icon is Ifrit, and sometimes when you're trying to obtain a new icon, you have these icon battles, which I kind of like say, think of a Power Rangers battle where you have your giant Zord fighting like a big monster. That's what I feel icon battles are. There is no traditional summoning a summon in like battle to help you fight, like original Final Fantasy, which is a little sad. I do wish that they did have that option still, but I guess with the type of combat that this game has, it's not really possible. Leveling up in the game could be a mighty task. It doesn't seem like you get much XP when you're playing and fighting enemies, which sometimes it could be a bit of a grind when you're trying to fight certain bosses, I guess. But that's another thing that I feel is just they could have done better. I know there's certain like gear you can equip to yourself to make sure that you can level up a little bit faster by giving you like that extra XP boost or something like that. But the leveling up, again, I'm 70% done with this game, and I'm only level 30. I'm pretty sure there's a new game plus because they have a Final Fantasy mode, which is the hardest difficulty setting that you don't unlock until after you beat the game, as far as I know. The frame rate does dip a bit. I know that the game is 60 frames per second. However, depending on the battle you're in or the situation and what town you're in, the frames do tend to dip a bit. It can be a little aggravating, but I am not too like big on frame rate. Like I think frame rate is just fine, but for any players out there who absolutely love that locked 60 and don't like frame rate dips, this game it's gonna give you a bit of a frame rate dip, and it can be a little like cringy sometimes because your game will slow down a lot. And I know that was one big thing that a lot of players were talking about before the game, like, you know, came out, when they were hearing about the frame rate, and it didn't sit well with a lot of players, but it happens, and it's totally fine. I had made a list here of things I wanted to talk about, and I think that's about it. The game is super linear. I feel like, yes, while it is open world to an extent, there's just a lot of things that aren't like explorable. Like, you can look out into the distance here and see, like, look at these mountains, these rock formations or whatever, and you can't just like jump up here and start exploring or like going to different areas. Everything for the most part is linear. You have a huge world map that gets you around easily by fast traveling to these like blue obelisks, I think this is what they're called. The world map will show you exactly where certain like side quests are, so you can fast travel to that location to make it easier for you, so you don't have to, like, you know, get on your chocobo or walk as fast, or walk to get there, so you can fast travel. So right now, as you can see, I got 3 side quests. There's one here, and one all the way over here. If I wanted to fast travel here, I can just do this, and it'll take me there, and I can finish up this side quest if I please, right? So that's about it, man. Overall, I think the game is great. I feel that if this game was named anything other than Final Fantasy, it wouldn't get the praise that it gets. Do I think that it is a Final Fantasy game? I truly don't believe that it's a Final Fantasy game. I understand that it changed, like times change and developers like to do new things, and that's perfectly fine with me, but it just doesn't feel like a traditional Final Fantasy. It just doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy to me. But it doesn't mean that it's not a good game. But I want to warn players out there, for anybody going in thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna get my Final Fantasy fix. I mean, even from Final Fantasy VII Remake to this game, it seems like a huge change. It even still feels like a really big change. I somewhat still felt like a bit of that traditional Final Fantasy in Final Fantasy VII, but it just, I don't know, man. I think this game is just, this game could have been something else on the cutting room floor, and they just was like, you know what? I don't think this game is gonna do well. Let's just slap the Final Fantasy title to it and call it that. And this is what we got, you know. But I don't want to say that to make it seem like it's a bad thing. The game is absolutely great. Obviously, like I said, I'm 70% through this game. I have almost 50 hours put into this game, and I'm loving it. But I'm loving it as a game that's not Final Fantasy. I see it for what I think it is, and it's just different. Moving forward, I would not like to see other Final Fantasy games in this light, but if it happens, it happens. We can't change what developers want to do, but it is a great game. For anybody out there who wants to play Final Fantasy 16, you really will get your money's worth. It is a phenomenal game. Certain things you just got to kind of get used to. If you don't get used to it, I feel like you'll never be able to like really enjoy this game. You know what I mean? So I hope that kind of clears some things up for you guys. If you kind of go here and you look at your abilities, you have your like ability tree for your icons and such, so you can like pick what icons you like, what you want to upgrade for your icons, and then of course depending on like the icons you have, then you can switch over to the gear and icons and switch your icons here. Other than that, it's just another game. It's just another game that I feel is just not quite Final Fantasy, but I really do love it. And I think a lot of people out there will really love it as well, if you just give it a chance. That's for sure. So like I said, I hope that cleared up some things for you guys. I really appreciate it. If you guys are brand new to the channel, hit that sub button. Also hit that like button. Does help the channel out a lot. And make sure you hit that notification bell. That notification bell will notify you every time I go live and or upload. and that will really help me out, and you guys will get a lot more content. So you guys take care. Have a great night. Peace.